counter-protested, threw stones, and yelled at the demonstrators. President Karzai is still reviewing the law, which has not yet been enforced. A world of outrage broke out when it was made public 2 weeks ago, and its critics include President Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Many activists are now threatening to withhold humanitarian aid from the impoverished country. So, Congresswoman Norton, from a Western perspective, what would make women in that country protest in favor of such a law, in favoring a law that allows their husbands to rape them?
Bonnie, I want to say coercive husbands, but the answer more likely is centuries of oppressive conditioning.
Well, I mean, there may be obviously some women there who they believe this is part of their religious faith and tradition. They're supportive, but frankly, I think many are probably very fearful to suggest that they're for the protest that was going on.
Cultures evolved, and people are in different places in terms of how they see themselves in this world. And what we're seeing is, you know, a particular culture in which there's a long way to go in evolving in terms of human equality.
Well, I think fear probably plays a role for some of the women, but I think there is adherence to a dogma that, frankly, does not respect human rights.
And what should our role be in return? I mean, this is one of those situations where a lot of times U.S. policy would be not to interfere because it is a cultural thing, but then Secretary of State Clinton in her confirmation hearing said, this type of thing is not culture, it's criminal.
And I agree with that. And frankly, we are sending young American men and women there to liberate that country, to keep it free, to provide stability. And I think that you do have to respect human rights. Human rights to me are, and this isn't about women's rights, it's about human rights. And I think human rights are important and should be an important part of our policy.
You are absolutely right, because you can't ask the American people to send billions of dollars to a regime which is essentially our regime. We put that government together. I understand what has happened here, and this is not easy. This is not a case of black or white oppression. They essentially lost a, quote, war with Taliban.
They did, or we did, because we've lost it too.
They were on the ground fighting their own folks, and they lost. They captured this part of the country, and they knew they couldn't retake it. And then the head of state has to think what to do, and he's already pulling back, saying, wait a minute, it's not been in the Federal Register yet. He sees that the American people are just not going to put up with this.
Right. Yeah, it's not just the American people. I mean, you're seeing outrage from all over the world, and for some of the very reasons that Linda mentioned, which is, you know, people have troops there. We sent people in there to free that country, to expand the rights for women, which is just, and children, frankly, for that matter. And if you look at the polling of the women who are there, 75% of them saying life has been better since the Taliban has not been in control. Hasn't been perfect, but it's certainly been better, and change is going to be hard. But I don't think the international community, and certainly the United States, can just step away and say we don't have an interest in this. We absolutely do.
And we do. And part of the challenge here is the fragility of the government. It's a very fragile government. They don't actually control the entire country.
Well, it's sort of a puppet. In a sense, it is a puppet.
It is a puppet. And really what's going on, there are elections coming up. This law doesn't apply to 100%, not all Afghan women, only the Shiites, which are 20% of the population. And basically, Karzai was trying to build a coalition. And he compromised. The thing is, the world cannot allow that kind of compromise. I actually think that equals to apartheid. I mean, I think at some point women have to say enough is enough.
Well, wait a second. There is one. I want first on the conservative side here. I'm a little surprised, quite frankly, because a lot of conservatives feel, do they not, that the U.S., the place of the U.S. is not to interfere with somebody's religious beliefs?
Well, listen, all religions are not created equal. I'm sorry. And if you subject one half of your population, the female population, to a different set of rules, I don't think that we need to stand for that.
But most conservatives agree with you on that.
Oh, I think a lot of conservatives do. Laura Bush's whole program when she was First Lady was to promote better treatment of women in Afghanistan. She spent a lot of time and effort on that. But I think there's a bigger issue here, and that is that as a democracy, we tend to think of democracy as having to do only with elections. Well, sometimes elections, if you don't have the rule of law, if you don't have the respect for minorities, if you don't have some of the constitutional protections that we have in the United States, democracy, just going into the voting booth, is not enough. It requires more. Real democracy requires more than simply